Guten Morgen. Hört mich jemand?
Ja.
Good morning, I mean. Everybody here? So, are we still waiting for participants to join? Leila?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can give 5 minutes more to join.
What, 5 minutes?
I think, or maybe some additional 3 minutes, because most of our participants are already there. So actually we can start, I guess. Yes.
Good.
So Liga is also here. Liga, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I think we can start.
Okay, so then welcome everybody to our second webinar of that series with LEF Network Azerbaijan. LEF stands for Latvia, Estonia, and Finland, and represented by Liga Sicheva, who is head of the EU Projects Department at the Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the lead partner of this project. I will be the moderator. My name is Tobias Baumann. I'm the executive board member of the German chambers, and we have a very fruitful and pleasing cooperation with the LEF network. And here also my colleague and deputy Leila Mamadova. And I'm very, very, very happy that we managed to attract so many good and valuable experts from the Azerbaijani side on these topics. The topic of this webinar is development of green technologies in Azerbaijan, and from all the three relevant fields: first, water, wastewater management, renewable energies, and perspectives in transportation. We have from the relevant institutions, authorities, agencies, very good speakers. So I would like to keep my introduction short. I hope that we can make it as efficient as it was last time. So we kept times and schedule very well, and I think we will manage to do so this time either. We will have 3 sessions with each 3 speakers. For every speaker is foreseen 10 minutes, and after we will have a question and answer session, and the latest we will be closing by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is in Europe 1 o'clock. I would like to hand over now to first Leila Mamadova, my deputy, and later to Liga Sicheva.
So, hello everybody from my side, and welcome to our webinar. Hamını salamlayıram AHK Azerbaijan adından.
My greetings on behalf of AHK Azerbaijan, dear participants, dear presenters. This is yet the 3rd event with the LEF network. The first one was held late 2023. The first one this year was a few days ago, just 2 weeks ago. And today is the second webinar on this topic. Similar to the previous experience, I believe this one is going to generate a lot of interest. And indeed, the topic is very relevant. It is something we discuss a lot about the development of green technologies. I believe you will share my sentiments that, in the prep process to COP29, the topics we raise are very much connected to that event, and no doubt the presentations and insightful interventions of the speakers are going to generate a lot of interest among the participants. So, once again, let me greet each and everyone and thank you in advance for your valuable contribution. Before I pass the floor to Liga, I will kindly ask everyone to put their cameras on for a group photo, so we can see everybody. We will do a very quick screenshot for our reports. So to make like our common selfie, we want to keep this for our records.
Guess everybody's here. Okay. Sözümü indi layihəni təmsil edən xanım
Now
Liga.
let me pass the floor to the project, to the person who represents the project, Miss Liga Sicheva, and she is the best resource to educate or make you aware of the project.
The floor is mine, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Leila. Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Liga Sicheva. I'm representing Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. For me, it's a huge pleasure to see you all here in this webinar and in such important and actual topic for nowadays about green technologies development in Azerbaijan. As already my colleagues, Mr. Tobias Baumann and Leila Mamadov already represent, the LEF Network Azerbaijan project is aims to support Latvian, Estonian and Finnish companies to develop trade relationships with Azerbaijan business. And this project is going to be up to 2 years upcoming, because 1 year we already have realized, and projects financed and supported by Interreg Central Baltic program, which unites all the governments of the Latvia, Estonia and Finland. So for us, it's very a huge pleasure to work with AHK Azerbaijan, who is organizing and making the content for this webinar. We are saying a huge thank you to you and all the speakers as well for spending attention to this project and spending the time for preparing information. So thank you very much, and please enjoy this webinar. Both Azerbaijan and Central Baltic companies as well. And who knows, maybe see you also in March when the trade mission is going to be in Azerbaijan with all the 15 companies from the Estonia, Latvia and Finland. So thank you very much.
Thank you too for being precise and short. And we come to our first session on water and wastewater management policy in Azerbaijan, with valuable information for Central Baltic and Finnish companies. And the first speaker is Ravshan Abbasov, who I've seen already with a globe in the background. And he's expert and speaking about the role of green technologies in climate change adaptation and mitigation of climate-related vulnerabilities in Azerbaijan. A very long title, but I hope you make us a comprehensive and understandable presentation. So the floor is yours, Ravshan. Go ahead. Thank you for presenting.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I'm very happy to meet all of you here, and I want to thank Leila for her kind invitation to me, which about that I knew just yesterday. And it's a great pleasure to release my presentation to you, colleagues. I'm mostly climate change and water expert, and I will talk about the current situation in Azerbaijan and how green technologies can be applied in order to make the positive shifts in current situation. I want to share my screen. If you possible, let me come here. No, just let me open this and then and then share my screen here. Okay, I got it. So as you are maybe you are already aware that Azerbaijan is implementing big national adaptation plan support project for adaptation and planning the climate changes in the country. So I'm part of this project. I am climate change and water advisor. So climate change impacts on, because in Azerbaijan, natural systems, all of freshwater ecosystems, forests, and coastlines have big impacts that come from climate changes. So we have, according to the fourth national communication of Azerbaijan to the UNFCCC, increased temperatures in Azerbaijan, reduce rainfalls, and change the ecosystems. Human-based systems also. We have lifestyle changes, migration from mountain areas, and declining of traditional incomes. And the climate-borne hazards in Azerbaijan include heat waves, extreme temperatures, droughts, floods, heavy rains and hails, mud flows and flash floods, and landslides as well. So droughts happens mostly in central part of Azerbaijan. So where this area don't have its own natural water sources. And then here we see that the map, which is more likely be affected with the impact of droughts in 2016 and 2014. So this mostly the central part of the region. We see that coastline territories, lowland areas, and low mountain territories of Azerbaijan. So in this case, we need Azerbaijani government has a plan with total shifts to the water-saving irrigation methods, water-saving technologies in irrigation and drinking water sectors. So floods also will happen because the climate change affects natural systems of Azerbaijan. We have more extremals. So interannual distribution of river flows are changing, and we have more, let's say, droughts and floods in central part of Azerbaijan, also in mountain areas along the Kura River, which may require the technology that reduce probability of floods in these areas. And land degradation mostly happens also in central part of Azerbaijan, in lowland mountain areas in Absheron Peninsula, and in coastline territories of Azerbaijan. This is the environmental stress mostly observed in central part of Azerbaijan. We see that more vulnerable areas in terms of environmental changes are central part of Azerbaijan, lowland mountain areas, and Absheron Peninsula, of course. So national adaptation program, support program is implemented by UNDP and partnered with the Ministry of Ecology and Natural Resources of Azerbaijan. The ministry as a government represents the prioritized three sectors for support program implementation. These are the coastal areas, water, and agriculture. So let's give more attention on these three main directions, because in these areas, the government of Azerbaijan and local governments are more interested to implement green technologies and water-saving irrigation methods and the new approaches in coastal management as well. So firstly, we wanted to have improve the data availability, access the sharing, the information for real decision making, and enhanced institutional and technical capacity, for climate change in water, agriculture, and coastal areas. So increasing technical capacity and institutional capacity means that we'll need to develop a strategic roadmaps for all three main prioritized directions in order to increase the knowledge of decision makers and increase technical capacity in water sector, agricultural sector, and coastal management. And means, of course, Azerbaijan has already the strategic roadmap on social economic development, which include the period of 2022 and 2026, and which consider shifting from traditional conventional methods of irrigation and drinking water supply to the new, let's say, water-saving agriculture and water-saving technologies, and both in drinking and irrigation sectors. So here we see that the climate adaptation, the priority directions, saving water in irrigation, which means Azerbaijan will need more technologies in irrigation, the water saving irrigation, and disaster risk reduction activities, maybe floods and droughts. So we'll need more drought management using green technologies, raising awareness, poverty reduction, reduction of water losses and abstractions, reduction of abstraction from water sources. So Azerbaijan really wants to shift to, let's say, water saving economy or waterless agriculture more and more. And of course, also in agriculture and food production, climate adaptation is also essential. In animal husbandry, we need more sorts of, let's say, drought-resistant or poverty reduction is important, raising awareness and climate change-resistant plants. So developing, let's say, new sorts of climate-resistant plants and build more, let's say, water-resistant agriculture. Also in coastal management, adaptation to Caspian Sea level fluctuations and support for river sea ecosystems, and we need proposals for restoration of fish migrations, because we have migration fish in Caspian Sea, mostly have migration fish migration routes of which is most blocked by dams, and we have mountain rivers, which are the preferred spawning grounds for these fish. And the government would need to bring in technologies that would allow the fish to avoid these dams and go to upstream. So fish ladders and fish migration supporting technologies would be very important. So firstly, there are broad range of studies already available, made some vulnerability assessments for coastal areas of Azerbaijan, but we still need to make, and it continues to make, vulnerability and capacity needs assessments in water sector and in agricultural sector as well. So we have policy briefs in water, agriculture, and coastal areas, how Azerbaijan's water sector adapt to climate change, what technologies are needed, what institutional and even legal changes are needed to cope with these changes. The same in agriculture and Caspian sector. So these three policy briefs are already introduced to Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijani government, and they are in the stage of reviewing it. They mostly will mainstream these findings into the future development plannings of the country. So water, coastal areas, I already said about this most policy questions, current state of vulnerabilities of water sector in Azerbaijan, what problems can climate change cause, and what opportunities are there to adapt to climate change. And the same, what opportunities are there to adapt to coastal changes in Azerbaijan. So the team of government representatives visited different places in Azerbaijan. We had different trainings. We have provided different trainings for them, how to adapt to climate change and how to shift to green technologies, how to provide water saving technologies in agriculture, and how to provide incentive in farmers to shift from conventional methods of irrigation to the water saving irrigation. Also, using of non-conventional sources of water is in the priority of Azerbaijani government. As you maybe you are already aware that Azerbaijani president has signed a decree of building several types of water desalination plants in Azerbaijan. So in order to to desalinate Caspian Sea water into the fresh water and use both in agriculture and drinking water supply sectors. So this initiative will most likely to continue in the future as well. One of the most the priority areas will be, let's say, reuse of water. So treatment of municipal wastewater and reuse of this. So we need this type of technologies in the future that would allow reuse of water from Baku area, because more than 50% of the total wastewater output from Baku and Absheron Peninsula is not treated and just released directly to the Caspian Sea. And the government is planning to build more and more water treatment plants, and that would enable treat this water and reuse in irrigation and drinking water sectors. Also very important to develop and obtain water treatment stations with low capacity and affordable prices for mountain villages or mountain resort areas, because government is going to apply new standards with respect to recreational facilities that are located in mountain areas. These type of facilities, mountain resorts, hotels, small hotels, even households would need in not portable, but low cost water treatment technologies. So I already gave some information about trainings, and we are now developing a master program on climate change adaptation, and this is the country-specific training materials will be developed and master course. This is the topics of this. So this is all I wanted to say you. If you have questions, please go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Ravshan. And now we will come to the questions after the session. So after the three presentations, and I was a little bit puzzled because I know the gentleman who follows now, Dr. Mehman Rzaev. He was last week with us at our water and wastewater management program at the Four Seasons, and maybe you know him from the news. He was later in the news on TV, and now we have him again here with us at our webinar. Mehman Rzaev is advisor to the chairman of the Economic Zones Development Agency, and he talks about the impact of climate change on Azerbaijan's water system. Thank you, Mehman, and thanks for being with us again. Floor is yours.
Good day, everybody, and thank you, Tobias, you and your staff to inviting me to participate in this important meeting, and I'm glad also to see my colleagues here also. Thank you. Now I am sharing a screen. If I can, give me a little bit minute. Elhan bunu necə yeyirdik, demədiyim. Elədim ya.
Da share screen var, yaşıl.
Aha, görürüm. Getmir axı bu.
Share screen quickly. Aha.
Aha,
Ama özümün şey eləməliyəm də bu.
Siz onu açmalısınız birinci.
Ana ekranda, bəli. Özünüz birinci.
Özünüz açın prezentasiyanı və həmin o prezentasiyaya basın share screen eləyəndə.
Siz məni görürsünüz indi.
Bəli, görürük. Amma Zoom hazırda ana ekranında olan zoom yazısını görürük. Siz stop sharing eləyin yuxarıdan.
Gentleman is going to share the screen in a minute.
Sağda görəcəksiniz ekranınızın üstündə.
Şimdi görürsünüz. Şimdi ben bu şey
English speaking guest, could you please confirm if you can hear me well? Just flag me if you can hear me well. Okay, great. Thank you.
you can see now my screen or not?
Yuxarıda stop sharing'i basmalısınız. Yuxarıda.
Birinci stop sharing eləyin, sonra yenidən share eləməyə çalışın prezentasiyanızı. Aha, indi yenidən share eləyin, zəhmət olmasa.
Share screen'e gedin.
Sağ taraf mı? Screen. Ha, geldi. Now you can see.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we see everything.
Thank you for your patience.
Not everything is so easily flowing like water. So go ahead.
As we know, water resources in Azerbaijan are formed based on the relief and climatic conditions, and our resources is limited. According to 2021, we have totally 21.5 cubic kilometer water totally in the country. And we can see that most of the water comes from not surface water is 16.5 cubic kilometer, and underground water exploration potential estimated 5 cubic kilometer. Current situation is clear for the specialists, but I would like to tell that Azerbaijan water sector is, as mentioned by the previous lecture, pressure of the ongoing climate changes, water shortage, uneven distribution along the country, and season, floods, droughts, and other events comprise major environmental concerns for the country. If we see the situation in 2021 and 2022, reduction of water flows even in Kura River resulted with the Caspian Sea saline water inflow into the riverbed, which made serious drinking water supply problem for southern East Rayon, Salyan, and Nefçala. In some cases, the pumping stations was not even able to take water from the downstream river section, which had led unstable water supply of settlements and irrigation. If we see structure of water consumption in the country, we can see that about 90% of water we use for agriculture, and the losses also big amount of losses is which is the more than 3 billion cubic meter only for transportation belongs to agriculture sector, irrigation sector. We have negative effect of climate change to agriculture. It is due to rise in temperatures, increasing number of dry days, reduction of precipitation, and reduction of moisture reserves in the soil, exceeding rainfalls at the same time, and resulting in landslides and floods, an increase in crop losses in cultivated areas, reduction of productivity in rain-fed grown areas under the cereals, fruits, grapes, vegetables, the increase in the negative effects of drought on pastures, and the strengthening of the tendency of degradation of pastures for various reasons. Water pollution, of course, and quality deterioration. And according to estimations and climate change scenarios, average annual temperature increase already increased 0.4 since 1991. And we can see that especially in Kura-Araz lowland, where intensive agriculture, this decrease was more intensive. And we can see that over the past 110 years, the loss of glacial areas have been up to 50%. And projected climate change also gives to us pessimistic pictures, and this tendency probably will be continued. And what shall be which action take against the consequences of climate change? In 2020, the government established Intergovernmental Water Commission, actually currently providing regulatory functions in the water sector. Integrated water resource management approach is under consideration. And the action plan for 2020-2022 has been adopted, and some projects have been chosen to be implemented, including internal water development projects in the rivers. Draft National Water Strategy document has been drafted and submitted to the government for final consideration. Electronic agriculture information system and electronic water management information systems have been established. I would like to tell a little bit about the current improvement actions. From institutional point of view, as you know, Azerbaijan State Water Resource Agency has been established as a main agency responsible for protection, management, usage, policy actions in water sector. Currently, the establishment of agency structures, including water supply, sanitation, and organization services, is going on. From the infrastructure point of view, new water supply infrastructure, for example, as I mentioned before, more climate change affected areas in Neftchala region has been implementing. Seawater desalination project for sustainable water supply in Absheron Peninsula is also ongoing, one of the ongoing projects. Pilot project for treatment and reuse of wastewater discharge from the Azerbaijani aeration plant into the Caspian Sea also is ongoing project. Especially, I would like to tell that after releasing of territories in Karabakh region, rehabilitation of water and new irrigation systems is going on. Recommended measures shall be considered as a complex measures and policies shall be implemented. What can be done, of course, it is very important international cooperation in strengthening non-transboundary flows, because Azerbaijan, about 65% of water is a transboundary water, and it is very important. Improvement water supply and sanitation in rural areas is also one of the priority for the government. Enlargement of innovative irrigation technologies. These, for example, after 2015, new agro parks with the development of new irrigation systems under the development. Use of alternative water sources, including rain-treated sewage water, is also under consideration. One of the important things to save water in agriculture is strengthening water user unions, means that on-farm irrigation management system improvements and better operation. It is also important, one of the protective measure in agriculture, growing, protecting forest strips around the cultivated fields. And improvement of pasture management system is also very important, because Azerbaijan agriculture and Azerbaijan agriculture really depends on pasture management also. Institutional capacity building and staff staff training in the water sector is very important to grasp new technologies and to be able to apply modern irrigation and water supply system facilities. Of course, in this point, I would like to mention about the role of cooperation with the donor organizations. And it is very important to implement and to work out and implement joint projects on water saving technologies. Thank you for your attention, and hope this presentation you find some information interesting to you. Thank you.
Thank you to Dr. Mehman Razaev, and also for your expertise and insights into the water system, the complexity of the water system, and the necessary or planned or implemented investments in the structure and in the future infrastructure. We will head over now to the last presentation of this session, to Elchin Aliyev, Director of the Central Laboratory of Azersu OJSC, the National Water Company. And his topic is how to get clean water and what to do with it, current water clearing methods, bioremediation, nanotechnology, and smart water management. Elchin Aliyev, the floor is yours. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, Tobias, and for your team for invitation.
Right, we know each other also for years already.
Good afternoon to everyone. Let me share my screen.
Biraz səsiniz yavaş gəlir Elçin müəllim. Mümkünsə biraz ucadan deyərdiniz. Tərcüməçi də eşitsin. Çox sağ olun.
Okay, you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to share information about current water cleaning methods in Azerbaijan, including drinking water and wastewater. So let's start with the drinking water. There are three main methods of drinking water purification treatment methods in Azerbaijan. Classical physical and chemical cleaning with the use of filters and balance. These type of units are used in most of the regions. Mingeçevi, Lankaran, Kuba, Masala. The second type is ultrafiltration. We have only one ultrafiltration unit, which is located in Ceylanbatan. The third one is a reverse osmosis system, which we use in Aksafa and Dobustan. And the new method, which is already mentioned by Can Abbasov, we are going to use desalination method for taking of seawater into drinking water. Here you can see just on the map where these treatment plants are located. As you can see, the productions which are higher, for example, Batan, you can see open transportation facility 7.75 cubic meter per second, or ultrafiltration water treatment plant, which is 6.6 cubic meter per second, or in Hazgabul, we have another treatment unit which has 7.8 cubic meters per second. These units are they are providing drinking water to Baku. In all the other regions, we have, of course, much smaller units with the production, which, for example, in Gobustan, as I mentioned, in Gobustan, we have reverse osmosis plant. And also in Astapa, we have reverse osmosis plant, which has capacity 0.02 cubic meter per second. Because the population in these regions are less than Baku, therefore production is less.
Jin, your voice is sometimes fading away, so please speak up a bit or get closer to your device. I think that's necessary to better understand your presentation.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, as you can see, here we have ultrafiltration unit, plastic method of treatment, and reverse osmosis plant. And desalination plant will be located around Absheron Peninsula, and this plant mainly will be dedicated to supplied with drinking water Baku and Absheron Peninsula. Classical method is actually the classical method, as mentioned on the name. Raw water is transferred to a water purification equipment complex, and after being cleaned in a tank filters like polygon, and then it's neutralized with liquid chlorine. Ultrafiltration, as I mentioned, it's located in Batan. Batan ultrafiltration water treatment plant complex was designed as a 7,090 40 modules with a production capacity 650,000 cubic meters per day to provide drinking water to Baku. Currently, 5,280 modules are installed, and the plant's production capacity is at best 572,000 cubic meters. The complex consists of 3 large sections: intake system, ultrafiltration unit, and a distribution system. And reverse osmosis system, they are based in Astapa and Gobustan because the water hardness was very high. Therefore, it was decided to use reverse osmosis system. And this plant, of course, consists of primary treatment of raw water, reverse osmosis device, and a final cleaning system. There are also module type water purification facilities. These modules are small plastic type units, and they are installed 2 years ago by Ministry of Ecology in different regions of Azerbaijan to allow this rural area, to provide with drinking water. And the number of module types water purification system are more than. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Oh, sorry. more than 400 in country.
Now we cannot hear you anymore.
Yeah, for some reason I cannot move to the next one more point in regulatory drinking water. We had the old post standard for drinking water quality, which was valid since 1982 in country, but last year a new standard for drinking water was adopted. As we can see, it's called AZS 929, drinking water hygienic requirements and quality control. There was a group of experts from others from Academy of Sciences, Ministry of Health, Institute of Standards, etc., and with the cooperation World Health Organization, new standard already was adopted. And most of parameters now they are mostly fit to EU directive and the World Health Organization methods. But all post standard, of course, they were using old post methods for testing and limits. Again, about desalination, previous experts, they already mentioned about desalination plants. We already had experience desalination plant in Kalyan, in Kıdırlı village, and at the initial stage, about 10 years ago, it was built in Kalyan, and this desalination plant, it was like a pilot project in order to treat water, seawater, for irrigation purposes. Initial production was about 1,000 cubic meters per day, and later it was doubled to 2,000 cubic meters. We had this as a pilot project, but now we have another pilot project which will be, of course, much higher capacity. Now, a little bit about wastewater treatment plants. You can see on the map existing plants and which are under construction or under the plan. So green ones, they are already operating. So the biggest one is located on the south of Baku, Höksan aeration station, and all of them, of course, located on the coast of Optional Peninsula. Blue ones are already under construction, and the red ones are planned. Here you can see the details of these plants. Höksan aeration station is the one of is the biggest one in country. Total capacity more than 540,000 cubic meters per day, and it has complete biological cleaning and incomplete biological treatment. And all the rest also has either incomplete or most of them has incomplete biological treatment. Pishara aeration station, which is built just a few years ago. It has complete biological cleaning, and this is actually the first one in the Afsharan Peninsula which will produce clean water which will be ready for irrigation. As already mentioned, in Höksan Aeration Station, there is a plan to reuse of clean water. So this is right now on the plan. But at the same time, right now there is a pilot project in Höksan Aeration Station. Ministry of Ecology has a pilot project which is located near Höksan Aeration Station. They take already cleaned water, they do additional cleaning and use this double cleaned water for irrigation on the way Höksan to airport. Here, information about some wastewater treatment plants in regions. You can see from productivity that the productivity in regions are much less than in Baku, and but most of them are built after Azerbaijan got independence. So it means that in the last 10 or 10, 15 years, and they are brand new, and most of them have both, you see, biological treatment. So these treatment plants are comparatively new, and they are much better condition than let's say in Afsharan Peninsula. That's briefly from my side. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Yes, thank you very much too. And we have a couple minutes to go into question and answer session. And of course, I would be glad if we would have a question from the audience to one of our three speakers, Rashan Abbasov, Mehman Rzaev, and Elchin Aliyev. So please raise hands if possible here, or just start with your question. Was im Chat? Nee, ne? Good. If there's no question, we go on with our second session. And this is on renewable energy and green technologies in Azerbaijan. First speaker is Namik Muradov. Is he present already? I cannot see it right now.
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here, Tobias.
Ah, yeah, there he is. Very good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And he's the renewable energy expert, a renewable energy expert, and topic is regulations and policy of renewable energy in Azerbaijan. So we expect a good overview from you on the situation, and please go ahead. We're very excited.
Yeah, I think, yeah, please.
You have a problem. So sorry. They changed the name of the topic, and the topic name is different. So maybe Namik, you can say.
Yeah. So yeah. First of all, thank you for introducing me. Yes, and this was the change of the topic from the policy to the best practices and more technical one. The topic that I decided to present today is related to the best practices on operation and maintenance of rooftop solar PV systems. So let me first introduce myself. Just like, yeah, I'm working as an energy expert in Eco Energy and in Total Energies, and we're doing the projects related to development of rooftop solar PV systems in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan. And I see the development, the rapid development and growth in the renewable energy sector and decentralized renewable energy sector there. And and we expect the similar development here in Azerbaijan. And that is the reason why I thought it would be good to know about the best practices for the Azerbaijani audience. So now let me share the screen. Yeah. And after I share the screen, I would like to confirm whether you hear everything, whether you see everything, or is everything fine? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Perfect. So yeah, as I mentioned about the reasons for choosing this topic is that the sector is growing, and to know the best practices would be good and beneficial, not to avoid many mistakes of faulty maintenance and operation practices, and avoid many harms and negative causes. And the second one, we should not only think about rooftop solar as a small scale PV system. They can also be a medium and fairly large PV systems. It's not only about taking care of the PV system on your house's roof. It's also about installing and maintaining commercial like rooftop solar system on the commercial buildings that can be up to like several hectares, that can cover several hectares of the land of the area. So knowing how to maintain and knowing the best practices really will help really will bring the benefits. And I'm going to talk about the benefits, and I'm going to talk about the practices. So let me move to the next slide. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about today. In general, about the necessity of operation and maintenance, the overview of the PV components of the system, the common tools and equipment that is used in the maintenance, and safety, of course, during the operation and maintenance, and the best practices for each component, how to do the maintenance for each component. So let's start with the very first one. Many people think that rooftop solar systems and solar PV in general is the system like set it and forget it. This is partially true. Rooftop solar PV plants and solar PV plants in general requires little day-to-day maintenance. However, it's still important to maintain the quality and keep the system well maintained to make it in a working condition, and not only just working, but also to work in an optimal level. We expect any PV system to last 20, 25, and maybe even up to 30 years. And it's important to keep the proper maintenance of the system throughout this time, because it will increase the lifetime, and it will give us a more efficient system. So there are basically 6 benefits. First is the breakdown eliminations. We will not need to repair more. It will increase the revenue because the well-maintained system generates more electricity, lesser maintenance costs because it doesn't break down as often as it would be if you do not maintain it. Extended plant life, increased generation, energy generation, and of course, improved safety. There are several important components of the PV plant. But before moving to the components, we need to understand the types of the PV systems. So there are mainly 3 types of the rooftop solar PV systems. First, on-grid, which is connected to the grid and offloads energy and takes energy from the grid. Off-grid system, which has the battery energy storage system and collects and is not connected to the grid and collects and becomes fully autonomous. And the last one is the combination of both, which is the hybrid system. Sometimes it has also the diesel gensets as a backup for the battery bank if it's not connected to the power grid. We need to know these components because we need to know what to take care of during our operation and maintenance. So these components are PV modules, strings and arrays, which is basically the chain of the PV modules connected in series, DC cables, string junction box, DC isolators, inverters, AC distribution box, AC cables, mounting structures, lighting arresters. The lighting arresters are not really common, but sometimes they also present in the PV system. Earth beats or grounding, charge controllers, and batteries. The last two are for off-grid or hybrid PV systems. There are basically two types of the maintenance schedule that we need to follow. I mean, not maintenance schedule, but two types of maintenance is the scheduled and unscheduled. And what we aim for is to do more of the first one and try to minimize the second one. Because the first one is the preventive maintenance and condition-based maintenance. So preventive maintenance is doing it again every 6 months, every so now and then, based on the schedule. And the condition-based is that, again, based on the specific condition, whether there was, for example, a dust storm, or there was a rain, or there was a snow that you need to, and you need to clean panels after snow. So these are the several condition-based maintenance that you need to follow. And corrective maintenance happens if something breaks and you need to correct to put your system back on the operational state. There are many tools and types of equipment that can be used and will be used in the maintenance. For the regular homeowner who is going to have a solar PV system, it's not, majority of the things are not really necessary. However, for the large PV systems, the things like a thermographic camera or IV testers, or maybe even thermometer might be important. But apart from the equipment and the tools, it's important to consider first two things. First is safety, is that no matter what kind of, whether you're a homeowner or you are an operator of the larger scale rooftop solar PV system, you need to take care of the safety. So which is to have as a first aid kit very close to you, and to use the proper personal protective equipment and even safety harnesses. The second one is also important. You might see that here is that every rooftop solar, small or big, should have an operation and maintenance manual. So this is a very good practice to have a manual that states exactly what I'm going to show you further, and even more, and gives the specific checklists what the homeowner or rooftop solar system owner needs to do in a regular basis. So data sheet to know what kind of system you have, and of course pen, paper and pencil. So equipment are for detecting the issues, and tools are to fix these issues. Now, this is a general overview of the system, of its components, of the type of the maintenance that we need to do. Now let's move to specific best practices for each component. And even before each component, I would like to return and state that safety is, again, #1 priority. Because even if the system is small, we have basically three hazards here. First is the fall hazard. We're working on the elevated area, and that's why we need to consider the safety not to fall down, or not anything to fall on us. The second is the electrical hazard, because this is the electrical station basically, and it needs to be considered. And the third one, if you have batteries, you also have the chemical hazard. You need to consider that one as well. So for that reason, anyone who is going to access the roof with a solar PV system needs to have passed a training. Homeowners, the owners of the larger scale system, they need to pass through a training, which has several aspects. So they need to know the theoretical foundation, how the system works, safety rules, the procedures of the inspection, cleaning, and maintenance, methods for the diagnosis, elimination of common malfunctioning, protective equipment, the way how to use them, and fundamentals of the monitoring and analysis of the system. So these are some site safety notice: no unauthorized entry, children are not allowed, wearing the proper PPE, and so on, and following the health and safety standards. So this is the first part that we need to do in our PV system. We need to take care of the PV panels and the mounting structure. And I separated them based on the three things. In almost any components, you need to do these three things. First is to do the visual inspection. Second is to clean the device if it's necessary. And the third one is to repair or do the troubleshooting. So in terms of the PV panel and the mounting structure, these are the things that you need to do. You need to check whether there is any dust accumulation on it. You need to check whether there are any shadow that casts on the panels, because shadows are the biggest, one of the biggest losses for the solar panels. Even the small area that is shaded can cause a very big reduction of the energy that your system can generate. Physical integrity, corrosion and rust, if you have the parts that is corrosive or gets rusty. Glass cracks, burn marks on the back of the panel, thermal analysis to find the hot spots on the panel, and loose connections, so to see whether the panels are well attached to the mounting structure. In terms of the cleaning, there are two types of cleaning, wet cleaning and dry cleaning. So you use the water and use the sponge, the soft sponge or soft cloth to do that one. And the removal of waste around. So if there is some vegetation that is growing around that can cast shadow, you need to remove that waste. And in terms of repair, so if the panel is broken, you need to change the panel, you need to remove it. If there is a rust on the mounting structure, if it is the metal that gets rusty, you need to remove the rust and add the anti-corrosive coating. If it's a ballasted system, you need to check the ballast. If usually it is the concrete blocks, you need to check the cracks. And if there are some cracks, you need to either repair or change it. And tighten the connection if there's any loose connections that holds the panels on the mounting structure. There are some examples that I wanted to show on the panels. So if you have some shadow in the very first picture, okay, you need to do something with the shadow. It actually might be the issue that either the tree has grown up or that the design, during the design, the shadow was not really considered. So there are some cracks, dust, the corrosion, and the lamination. So these are the signs on the PV panel, and some rust and loose connections are the signs that you need to look after in the mounting structure. There are some do's and don'ts when it comes to doing this kind of maintenance. First of all, and it's again related to the safety, is that you need to do this cleaning and do all the maintenance part of the system during the low light conditions, which is basically before the sunrise and or after the sunset. The reason for that is that it generates electricity under the sun, and you do not want to work under the electrical equipment that is working. In terms of the water, so you just need to use the clean water that doesn't have any dirt or any physical contaminants, like sand. And it would be even better that if the water is deionized and have low mineral content. Some don'ts: do not clean damaged panels. So because it's electric hazard, and it can result in electric shock. You do not clean the back of the panel with a brush or any other things that is sharp and can cause damage the junction box or the cables behind the panel. You do not sit, stand, and step on the modules. Never. Even though the glass that is on the module is very durable, but it can still cause the micro cracks on the solar cell that is under it, because it doesn't really deform very well, and it can break your panels very easily, and it can make say it correctly. It creates hotspots, and it will your panels are not going to last as long as they should be. Do not use any metal brush. Do not use any abrasive cleaning, degrazers, and acid and alkali detergents. So just use clean water to clean them. Now let's move to the inverter and the combiner boxes. Inverter and the combiner box are actually very big topics, and I do not think that I will be able to cover all of them during this session. And apart from that, there are many other many inverter providers with different sizes, and they all have their own different ways to operate and maintain them. So the best advice would be to just follow operation and maintenance manual of the inverter. There are many codes, there are lengthy documents that you need to read, analyze, and to follow. And the last one, which is actually general, is to, before you do any work on the inverter, even though it's a low light conditions and you do not have, you should not generate any electricity, you need to turn it off and wait for 10 minutes before doing any maintenance to avoid any electric shock. So these are the two things to consider. But there's still, even though we have the operation maintenance manual, there's still some general rules to follow. And again, these are the visual inspection, cleaning, and do the repair and troubleshooting. The first is to check the external damage, to check the connection points, whether they're loose or not, to see whether there are any dust accumulation, not actually on the inverter, but on the fans of the inverter, which can be on the bottom or on the sides of the inverter. The error codes on the screen of the inverter, any burn marks on the inverter, to see and check whether they are labeled properly and whether they have any loose connections. If there is any dust on the bottom, on the fans, you need to clean it, remove the dust, and to clean with using the blower, or maybe even vacuum cleaner. And in the last one, in terms of the repair and troubleshooting, just follow the manual. If there are any issues, follow the manual, follow the manual, follow the manual. Some examples. So the first one is the burnt marks. If there are any fuses that have been blown, this is the example of the blown fuse, so protection device. And the last one, this is what I was talking about, the accumulation of dust under the on the fan. So about the inverters. Now let's move to the cables. Cables do not really need to be cleaned in comparison to the panels and inverters, but you need to check, visually inspect them, and if there's something, you need to repair or change them. So the first, you need to check whether there are any external damage on it, whether the insulation of the cable is fine. You need to do the thermal analysis to see whether they're overheating, whether the current that is passing through them is not more than it is able to withstand. To see whether they are properly fastened and they're not loose and not just hanging around. To see whether there are any bend points or sharp edges that the cable is in contact. And of course, to check whether the cable is labeled properly and to see if it's passing through the conduit through the PVC tube or any other tube for the protection, whether the conduit is in the proper condition. So if you find some mistakes, then you change the cable and change the cable to the one that is sized properly, not the lower, not the bigger, the proper sized cable. Change proper cable management. And again, here are some examples of mistakes that can appear. The first one is the sharp edges. So you can see that the cables are in touch with the sharp edges of the combiner box. The second one on the right side is the loose connection. So the cables are hanging around everywhere, and that can cause problem. The broken conduit where the cables are passing, so that needs to be repaired. And the last one is the problem in the insulation. So that basically broken contact, broken cable, yeah. And the last one would be about batteries. The batteries also require three things. They require different type of cleaning, which is we're going to talk about a little bit. But the first thing, you need to check whether there are any external damage. You need to check the sulfations of the terminal. I'm going to show you the example of how it looks like on the picture next. You need to make sure that if that the batteries are in a well ventilated room. So you need to check not only the batteries itself, but also the room, whether the fans in the room are working, whether the place is well ventilated and it doesn't have any issues. You need to check for the burnt marks on the cable, on the battery itself, proper labeling, and to see whether the terminals are connected well and there are any loose connections there. In terms of the cleaning, if there's any sulfation on the plus and minus part of the battery, you need to clean them. There's special ways to cleaning them. And if there's any need for repair, you either need to change it or just again follow the manual for it. Sometimes you also need, if the connections are not properly done and if they're loose, you just need to tighten them. And this is the example what I was talking about, the sulfation. So if some old batteries, they're prone to this sulfation of the terminals, like plus and minuses, and you need to check it from time to time and clean it and keep them in the state that this sulfation will not occur in the future. So these are the five things: PV panel mounting structure, cables, batteries, and inverters. So to summarize, here are the 6 points that you can draw from the presentation. Is that operation and maintenance is important. Your system is supposed to last for 25 years, and the proper operation and maintenance procedures following best practices will help you to reach and actually exceed this lifetime of 25 years. You need to know your PV components to know what you need to take care of and how do you need to take care of them. You need to, again, the second one, you need to know how to do the maintenance, follow the practices, follow the manual. You need to always consider the safety. The safety should always come first. Follow the safety protocols and use the proper PPE equipment, which is, again, it can be helmet, it can be special glasses, it can be a footwear. I didn't really cover about them because I don't think that I do have time for that one right now. The next one is to follow best practices, which is, again, what I mentioned today. And also, it would be good to educate more and see some other resources on best maintenance practices. And of course, use the proper tools and equipment. I didn't mention here, but again, it should be like a well-insulated tool. They should work properly, and they should, like if you use digital multimeters, cameras, they should be in the working conditions to show you the exact condition of the system. And that is all from my side. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, yeah, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you. No, very, very good presentation. Thank you very much for your recommendations and everything. So I was a little bit surprised that indeed people would use a metal brush to clean up the PV panels, but obviously it appears, right? So I think every week I look older, but maybe this is also an issue. I shouldn't clean my mirror with a metal brush, right?
Yeah, I mean, this might be surprising, but I have seen, not with my own eyes, but on the video, people are cleaning the surface of the PV panels with a grinder. So because they consider that it doesn't have the a very clean and how to say, like smooth surface. It is by design that it doesn't have a very clean and smooth surface. But I saw them cleaning it with this metal grinder. So using metal brush is at least something better. And also the second condition is that sometimes there are, again, a huge accumulation of dust, and they look like calluses. Maybe people try to use this spray to clean them well. So again, this is not something that best practices advise to do.
Right, needs to be professional. Thank you. So we had over further questions in the question session then, and now we head over to a little bit in delay, but I think it's not dramatic. We will catch up with Elmar Gulaliev, head of the Department of Liberalization and Attraction of Investments in the field of energy at the Azerbaijan Energy Regulatory Agency. And this is the agency whose director and chief, Samir Akhundov, yesterday spoke to our members in our Impulse event. It was a very good presentation too. Thank you very much at that point again. And Samir Akhundov, by the way, was also AHK president a couple of years ago. So Elmar Gulaliev comes from a very good institution, and his topic is regulations and policy of renewable energy in Azerbaijan. Elmar, the floor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Let me just share my presentation. So I hope everyone can see my presentation.
Yes, excellent.
Yes, thank you. As was mentioned, my presentation is about the regulations and policy of renewable energy in Azerbaijan. So, first of all, I would like to start from the reforms in the energy sector of Azerbaijan, which began from the presidential decree on approval of the strategic roadmap on the development of the utility services. So it included the electricity, heating energy, water, and gas in 2016, and those reforms are currently underway. Based on this strategic roadmap, the Energy Regulatory Agency was established in the 2017 with the status of the public legal entity under the Ministry of Energy. In order to accelerate reforms in 2019, order on accelerating reforms in energy sector was given, and this order envisaged the preparation a number of legislative documents. So in 2021, two main laws was approved, which form the main pillar in the field of green energy transition. So first one is the law on the use of renewable energy sources, and the second one is the law on the efficient use of energy resources and energy efficiency. And last year was adopted a new law on the energy and new law on electricity, which envisaged the constructive change in the electricity sector, including the gradual transition to the competitive electricity market. These two laws was adopted in the 1889 and now 1998, and now last year they was revised according to the demands of the today demands, our targets, and international experience. Now I want to give a brief information about the functions and the structure of the agency. So as was mentioned in the previous slide, agency was established in 2017, and in April 2018 it started its functional operation. Legal framework for the function of the agency are its charter and rules on supervision in the field of electricity, heating energy, as well as gas supply, which was approved in 2018. So the three fields, electricity, heating energy, and gas supply, are regulated by the agency. At the same time, agency has 11 branches, regional branches. So here on the map, we can see their locations, as agency have two directions of the functions. First one is the regulation, and the second one is the inspection. So let's move to the new stage of reforms, which began with the presidential order on approved social economic development strategy for 2020 to 2026. Strategy contains specific steps to achieve the goals set for national priorities approved in 2021. So as we can see, the fifth priority, clean environment and green growth country. In this regard, the target was set in this strategy to increase the share of the renewables in total installed capacity up to 30% by the 2030. Also, under the Paris Agreement, Azerbaijan has a target to decrease the greenhouse gas emissions up to 35% with the comparing with the base year by the 2030. So furthermore, in 2022, the action plan for the establishment of green energy zone in the liberated territories of the Republic of Azerbaijan for 2022-2026 was approved, which was developed in the accordance with the green energy zone concept and contains a concrete steps to be taken until 2026. And in 2023 was approved the state program for the socio-economic development of the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic for 2023-2027, which defines decisive steps until the 2027. So we talked about reforms. Now let's take a deeper look on the electricity market design in Azerbaijan. Here we can see the expanded structure. As we can see, the electricity market is vertically integrated, and there are two main state-owned companies. So on the one side is Azerenergy, open joint stock company, which are both electricity generation company and transmission system operator. And on the other side is Azerbaijani, which is distribution system operator and energy supplier company. At the same time, there are some independent power producers, but their share in the total installed capacity is small. In the graph, the generation, transmission, distribution, and supply are given separately as it have to be, but we see that both Azerbaijan and Azerbaijani carrying three functions. The Azerbaijan sells electricity to the several large consumers directly connected to the transmission network, and Azerbaijan had some generation. At the same time, there are generation capacities operating out of grid, for example, like a BP and SOCAR. In Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic, the structure is almost the same, and all the activities in the supply chain are carried by the State Energy Service of Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic. Since there is no direct technical connection with the country's main energy system, electricity is imported and exported through the neighboring countries. I mean, for the frequency and in the cases of needs. According to the new electricity law adopted last year, which I was talked about in the previous slides, the process of applying the elements of the competitive electricity market is planned to be implemented in 3 phases. It's needed in order to adapt the electricity subjects, consumers to the change. In the graph is shown the measures to be taken regarding the process of unbundling and formation of a market operator. So the new law got in force in 1st of January this year, and first phase will last until the second half of 2025. During this period, legal and administrative separation of electricity generation and transmission activities is envisaged. In the case of generation and transmission, the situation is in this form, like the power plants are financial and functional separated. They are different limited liability companies, but under the one cap called Azerenergy. So to separate them, we need the legal and administrative separation. But in the case of Azerbaijan, we don't have such separation like in Azerenergy. So first of all, we'll start from the financial and functional separation of the distribution and the supply activities. Second phase begins in July 2025 and lasts until the second half of 2028. During the second phase, planned the creation of an independent market operator as a separate legal entity, but under the transmission system operator. And finally, legal and administrative separation of the electricity distribution and supply activities. And final third phase will begin in July 2028. So in the second phase, as I said, in the second phase, market operator plan to be established under the transmission system operator, but in the third phase, it will be established as an independent market operator. Additionally, other necessary measures will be taken to ensure the functional market, like the market rules and other secondary legislative documents. In this slide, we can see the support mechanisms in the field of use of renewables provided by the law on the use of renewable energy sources in the electricity generation. So supporting the production of electricity in the renewables areas through the application of guaranteed tariffs. So according to the law, there are 2 ways for selecting a producer in the RES areas. First one is auctions, and second one is a direct involvement. So in this regard, rule for selecting an electricity producer in the area of renewable energy sources has been approved by the cabinet ministers. Next support mechanism is a prosumer supporting, about which I'll give information in the next slide. The next ones are the supporting scientific research and mechanism provided in the tax code and the law on the customs tariffs. So now let's move to the prosumer support mechanism. Rules which envisage this mechanism was approved by the Cabinet of the Ministers in the September last year. So in the Mr. Namik Muradov told about the PV systems, how to install the types, how to take care of them. But I will, in my presentation, talk about how to monetize, to how to get the benefit in the form of the cash from these installations. We are talking not only PV, but it could be different renewables too. So, who is the prosumer? Prosumer is the consumer who produces the electricity. Before these rules, consumer was able to install the race plants, but while transmitting the excess amount of electricity to the grid, he didn't get any payment. But those rules made possible to sell the electricity and get paid by the supplier. So to define the process, payment process, we look at the difference between the amount of the electricity transmitted to the grid and received from the grid. So in this slide, we can see the process, how payment happens. So there is two scenarios. If the difference between the amount of the electricity transmitted to the grid and received from the grid is positive, then this difference is added to the prosumer balance in the form of the amount of electricity, like a kilowatt hours. In case if difference is negative and there is not enough amount of electricity in the prosumer balance, the prosumer will pay to the supplier according to his tariff. So it happens every month, monthly based. And in the end of the year, if there is some amount of the electricity which remains on the prosumer balance, then supplier pays for it by the wholesale tariff. So for now, the wholesale tariff is 6.6 Azerbaijani GAPIX per kilowatt hour. And this is the tariff that Azerishik buys the electricity from the Azerbaijan. Now let's see the renewable energy source information system. So RES law envisages preparation of such information system, and the charter of this system was approved by the Cabinet of the Ministers. The data regarding the locations of the renewable energy source areas, the transmission and distribution networks, lines near these territories, planned capacity of each renewable energy source power plant, amount of electricity produced from the renewables, amount of natural gas saved as a result of the electricity generation from the renewable energy sources, and volume of the income obtained from the sale of carbon dioxide quotas for saved fuel. So all this data will be collected in this system, and access to the system will be defined in three categories. So first one is the system integration. The state bodies, institutions that have state information resources and systems will be integrated to these systems. The state bodies and institutions which doesn't have such information resources and systems, they will have the access to the user account. And of course, for the consumers, for the investors, they will have the open source information, and everyone can have access to those open source data. Furthermore, to promote the investment, we have the investment appraisal document. So Ministry of Economy issues this document. It is a document that provides the basis for obtaining the concession specified in the tax code and the law on customs tariffs of the Republic of Azerbaijan. So legal entities and individuals who carry out entrepreneurial activities without creating a legal entity, who meets a certain criteria, can apply for this document. The benefits. So this document gives such benefits like for 7 years, 50% discount on profit and income tax, exemptions from the property tax, exemption from the land tax, and from VAT and customs duties for the import of machinery, technological equipment, and devices. And now let's take a look on the new export rules and tariffs regarding the exporting of the renewable energy sources. So on December 2022, the agreement on strategic partnership in the development and transmission of green energy between the governments of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Georgia, Romania, and Hungary was signed in Bucharest. And on June 2022, within the Baku Energy Week, the third ministerial meeting was held for the implementation of the agreement of this strategic partnership. It's planned to implement 3 gigawatts of wind in total and 1 gigawatt of solar power by 2027, and 80% of this capacity, the produced electricity, will be exported. And of course, in Nakhchivan, also planned to implement 1.5 gigawatt renewables, 1 gigawatt of which is planned to export. So in the map, you can see the routes, new exporting routes that's planned, and the work is underway on the realization of these projects. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for this very good information. You mentioned 6.6 kpik per kilowatt hour price, right? So translated into euro currency, it means 4 cents, because not everybody's common with manat and kpik, but 6.6 kpik is about 4 cents per kilowatt hour in Azerbaijan, right?
It is right. It is a wholesale tariff, but also we have a consumer tariffs which will be higher. Consumer tariffs divided in 3 categories. So I will show you here, just a minute. You can see it here. So we have the retail tariffs for the residentials. So it's divided in the 3 categories. So up to consumption below and equal to 200 kilowatt hours, it is the 8 Azerbaijan capiks per kilowatt hour. So between the 200 and 300, it is 9, and above the 300, it's 13. Also, we have a trade and service tariffs. It's 11 capiks per kilowatt hour, and for the others, it's 10 capiks per kilowatt hour. So
I have one question actually. So the question that we are mostly interested in, so I want to check my hypothesis here. So is, for instance, you have a depot for e-buses built, and it receives, the cable it receives is, let's say, 35 kilovolts consumption. I mean, feed-in cable is like 35 kilovolts. What kind of tariff will it pay for consumed electricity? Is it trade and services or others?
Actually, if I understand, you have EV buses, yes, or?
So assume we have a depot of buses which is only for EVs, e-buses. So
yes.
I'm interested what kind of tariff it will pay. Is it 10 GAPIC or 11?
E-buses, it is a commercial field. Yes?
Yes, right.
So if it's a commercial field, it have to pay by the trade and the service, because
trade and service.
11, yes. For example,
so I was right then, yeah.
Yes.
So it's quite difficult to understand what is others and what is trade and services. So that's why I'm asking.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you. Could you please notice all your questions, and we will have a question and answer sessions after the presentation. So there is an issue that Mr. Anar Mamadov needs to go urgent to another meeting at the ministry. So he's asking that we kind of postpone our coffee break He will have a presentation right now, and we can have a coffee break immediately after his presentation. Is it okay for you? For everybody?
Yes.
Okay,
No, just
thank
a
you.
second. There was a question from Sandra Bukane, and I just don't want to let her wait. So yeah, for distribution partners, you contact Liga Sicheva, and she may recommend AHK as a service provider, but maybe she has other ideas. So whenever it comes to business connection, first address for you is Liga Sicheva, and then listen to her recommendations. Thank you very much. We meet again at 2:50.
No, Tobias, we will make a presentation right now. So Anar Mamada will make a presentation right now.
Okay, you take over. Then
Because he needs to go to another meeting at the ministry. He was called. So
okay.
he's asking to do the presentation now, and then we will have a coffee break.
Okay, good.
Anar müəllim, buyurun.
Çox sağ olun, təşəkkür edirəm, hörmətli həmkarlar, minnətdaram.
Thank you very much, dear colleagues. I beg your pardon. I'll be very brief. Unfortunately, there's a lot on our plate, and it obviously impacting our daily workload. I will just share some of my views without any presentation. Once again, greeting you all on behalf of Ministry of Digital Development and Transportation. Once again, I would like to highlight how important this meeting is. As you know, Azerbaijan's geographical location provided opportunity for different transit corridors and transit opportunities. And if you look at our transportation system, you can see we have seaports, modern seaports, airports, as well as railway connection and motor roads. Definitely, transportation is absolutely critical for the economy. That said, transportation also generates some problems, and be it on a daily basis, traffic issues as well as environmental issues. And it is absolutely a valid point that in the process of climate action, there is a growing demand and there is growing need for adapting and upgrading transportation system in order to make it more environmentally friendly. And there are new concepts and new documents adopted, and it's absolutely a very critical for today's world. As we speak of the green technologies, we should not forget that we have to provide sustainable transportation, public transportation for residential areas, namely given its impact and its importance. Also, let me also bring your attention to the following point. What we have done and what the experience we have had so far and the vision. If you go through the existing transportation park, you can see that emission is primarily generated by the private cars, which is obvious. The area of Azerbaijan, the territory of Azerbaijan is mostly conducive for private vehicles. The area is rather small, and for domestic transportation, personal cars is the primary source of transportation. But that said, gradually there are incentives in order to move to more environmentally friendly vehicles. And definitely we are improving the legislation. We're trying to improve the guidelines. In our legislation, you can see that it's cheaper to import vehicles with a smaller capacity. But if we are to speak of environmental friendly cars, you will be getting more incentives. But if you're planning to drive a huge vehicle, you're going to pay for that. So the legislation is providing those incentives. And in the legislation, we also have a special provision for electric vehicles. Since 2019, we pay special attention to this dynamic. And today, in the legislation, there are no taxes, almost no taxes for importing EVs. We have exempted from customs duties, from taxes. So it means importing EVs is 33% cheaper than a similar analog of conventional car. And so far, their share is not huge, and we have to do more to promote EVs. And we have to, not only Ministry of Digital Development and Transportation, but also other agencies, other private sector shall also support, providing more affordable loans, as well as gradually switching public transportation and other modes of transportation to electric mode. And overall, use of EVs is not something connected only to transportation sector, as something which was raised earlier. It's important to generate the energy that will be providing electric energy to EVs. If we're going to produce energy from fossil fuel and then power cars, it wouldn't make any sense. For example, in Baku, we are using about 2,000 public buses. If we move all of them to electric buses, I'm not sure our charging capacity and our generation capacity is able to provide for that. And how far we can provide these buses with energy from RES. And if we're going to burn gas and then fuel, so to say, or charge the electric buses, it's going to produce, again, pollution, it's going to produce emissions. So we have to be conscious about gradual movement. Given all these developments, we are developing a national plan on electrification of the transportation sector, or moving to electric buses and cars, as well as, speaking of green technologies, the best opportunity is digitalization, and digitalization is going to support energy efficiency. If you look at Azerbaijan, 60% of transportation is probably in Baku, or 60%, or quite a huge number of people live in Baku. And it's important to roll out more and more electric vehicles, more and more electric buses. This year, we're planning to bring around 100 buses, and we will be introducing more and more throughout the country later. And also the issue of micro-mobility, about bikes and scooters. This is yet another area to work on. Within this year, we have already marked and created a bicycle lane. Around 18 kilometers will be in place very soon. Going back to digitalization, we're also managing our parkings. Around 12,000 parking spots have been installed, and digital solutions definitely help us to make this process flawless. And it is also reducing the number of unnecessary moves, the number of users of private cars, because parking is preventing some people from excessive use of private cars. And indeed, be it Baku or all over the country, we are trying to promote more use of public transport, and definitely here we have a huge task to develop public transportation further. As you know, we have new bus lanes, which is helping buses to go without interruptions, and we are trying to increase the accessibility, and we want to reach 92% of accessibility for public transportation. And also speaking, also it's important to develop Baku metro network. This is probably the most convenient mode of transportation, but we're trying to also contributing to effective use of water through development of metro system. As you know, underground water is accumulating around the metro station. So at 3 stations, we are collecting water, sending to the laboratories, and using that water for greening the trees or for greening the areas in Baku. So, and it's important to move further with sustainable solutions, and I'm sure that development of sustainable transportation network is going to make our sector is going to support reduction of emissions from our sector, as well as make lives in the cities healthier and more comfortable. Once again, let me apologize for having short time and that I have an urge to leave for some other meetings. And I was trying to provide a nutshell of the latest developments in the transportation sector. And I believe that fellow colleagues are going to provide more information. Once again, let me highlight that these events are very critical. Azerbaijan is a country which is developing, and we are hungry for new technologies, for innovations, for experts. I remember traveling to Ludwig, studying transportation sector. There is so much to learn from countries who have already had experience in the development of public transportation and overall transportation field. So, in Ludwigshafen, yes, they are able to handle all the passengers with 70-80 buses. It is like in Sumgait, size of Sumgait, but we have more buses. So learning this best experience, adapting these innovations is critical, and I'm sure that this exchange is going to bring about a lot of benefits for our development. Thank you very much, and I will be delighted to take your question, but then, with your permission, I will need to leave. Thank you very much, Mr. Mammadov. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your valuable insights and for the presentation. Shall you have any questions? We can definitely take your questions and we will send you in written. We understand you're in a rush. Once again, thank you very much.
There is a time for a small coffee break. Let's do it not so long, so approximately 10 minutes. And then after we will have 2 more presentations of our very interesting speakers. Thank you and see you in 10 minutes back.
Çok sağ olun.
So the participants, their speakers, I think it's time to start. Welcome back, everybody. And now we have one very interesting speaker who is coming to speak for us from Baku port, and he is a specialist of project management office, Mohammed Aliyev. Mr. Aliyev is with us, so welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us today. And the
Thank
floor is
you.
yours.
Okay. First of all, hello everyone. Let me introduce myself one more time. My name is Mohammed Aliyev. I'm a green project manager specialist in Port of Baku. And today I'm glad to introduce you our green projects in Port of Baku presentation. So let me share my screen and just a second. Sorry, I can't share my screen. Can you help me?
Yeah, sure. What's the problem?
Yeah, you can start screen share while the other participant is sharing.
Okay, just. Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Well, okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, great. So, Port of Baku, or how we call it now, Green Port, which is located in the center of Eurasia and serves as a vital connection between the Europe and Asia, aims to be the leading green port operator in terms of efficiency and sustainability to achieve the lowest ecological footprint in the region. Well, our objective is the achieving net zero emission by 2030. In 2019, Port of Baku received an Eco-Port certificate from the European Seaport Organization, and in 2023, we became a member of the UN Global Compact, where we are targeting on the 11 of 17 of Sustainable Development Goals, as you see on the screen. These SDG goals can practice in such areas like the climate action, industry innovation and infrastructure, sustainability, and infrastructure development, and more. So now when I introduce you our targets, our goals, you maybe have a question. Okay, but how we are doing that to achieve these goals? What are we doing? So let me start to introduce you our green projects that we are doing in our port area, and let's start from the waste management. So guys, I want to explain you something. You need to know that what you are taking from environment, you should give it back. So if you are using the water, you are polluting it. After, you should treat it and give it back to the sea, to the river, doesn't matter. So in our port area, we have the biological sewage wastewater treatment plant, which consists of the 5 models and sand filter. Each model capacity is 500 cubic meter sewage water daily to cater for 2,500 employees. These 5 models consist of the next, like, first of all, the water flows to the rough screen where the huge particles like a stick or I don't know, the leaves of the tree are removing from the water, and then from the rough screen, water flows to the equalization basin where the water flow is normalized. After, it's go to our rotating biological contactor. As you see on the photo, we see a rotating disc, which 40% submerged to the water, another 60 in the air. And what's happened? Organisms which accumulate on the disc in the course of time receive oxygen from the air during the rotation of the disc, consume the pollutants existing in the wastewater, and convert them into carbon dioxide and water naturally. After, when the treating of the water happens in this disk, the water flow to the final settlement and sand filtration, where the all little particles are totally removed from our water. Now our water is totally treated, and we can, let's say, send it back to the sea. But we decide to not to put our water, to accumulate our water in the basins and use it for irrigation purpose. Why for irrigation purpose? Well, actually, Port of Baku is located in the LEF region, and it's a semi-desert landscape with the poor cover of the trees. We have a goal to plant 100,000 trees for 2025 in all LEF region. For now, we plant already 50,000 trees. And as you know, tree plays an important role in our life. First of all, it's for air quality improvement and for the reduction of the carbon emissions or carbon dioxide. So in such places like a port, there are a lot of equipments like forklifts, reach stackers, tail loaders, which are working in the port area to handle the cargo. So these equipments working on the fuel diesel. And it means like we have a lot of carbon emissions. To reduce our carbon emissions, we adding to our equipment a high-tech lubricant, which is designed for reducing metal-to-metal contact in higher pressure environments. What does it mean? With this lubricant, we are reducing of our fuel consumption, and it means like it reduced the carbon dioxide for 15%. To increase this result, we also installed a special equipment which calls hydrogen booster on the exhausted pipe of the equipment. Hydrogen from the vehicle comes to this equipment, hydrogen booster, and again re-enter it back to the vehicle. And it again reduces the fuel consumption. With these both two technologies, we achieved ecological save up to 30%, 15% in reduction of friction inside our vehicles, and 80% reduction in wear. Another our green initiatives is renewable energy, solar panels. Well, solar panels plays a vital role in reducing carbon dioxide and our dependence on non-renewable energy source. As you see on the map, it's a port area. We would like to install our solar panels on the, if you can see on the right side of the port, on the rooftop of the warehouses, with the total capacity 742 kilowatt peak. And we want to also create the solar farm development on the north part of our port with the total capacity 7 megawatt peak. But of course, especially in the winter season, in the cloud, there is a lot of cloudy days, and there is no sun, and we have less solar radiation to get energy. So that's why we also want to install the container battery energy storage, which will collect all energy, and during the cloudy days we are going to use them. And I also want to add this battery container storage is going to be portable. For what purpose? If we need to consume with electricity any area of port, we can move our battery storage from one part to another. Another green port initiative is the cold ironing. I see it's very necessary in the all port areas. And what is that? Well, cold ironing is also referred as the shower power. In turn, cold ironing comes from the act of shutting down all onboard combustion, resulting in the vessel going cold and connecting to the electrical power supplied at the dock. Okay, let me explain again. So when vessel coming to the port and in its dock there, the engines in the vessel still working, and it's working on fuel, diesel fuel. So we have a carbon emissions. So to stop it, we have a special junction boxes, and with a special cable, we are plugging off on this to our vessel, and consume this vessel with electricity. So the vessel turning off all the engines inside and just provide electricity from the port. In total, we have 26 cold iron junction boxes in general cargo, ro-ro, and ferry services berths. It helps us to reduce carbon emissions, improve air quality, noise reduction, and it helps for fuel and cost savings. In the end, I would like to also introduce to you, all these green projects that I provide you, it helps to reduce the carbon dioxide. But in one moment, we should know, does it help? What is the results? For example, if you are treating water, is our water enough treated? Or if you are doing some green initiatives, are we reducing our carbon dioxide? How much percent? So we want to implement in our port area the environmental monitoring system. With this environmental monitoring system, in the real time, we can see the vessel emissions, the water quality, the air quality, also the noise reduction, and most necessarily in our islet region, the soil quality, to plant a lot of tree and make our region more greener. For now, thank you very much. If you have any questions, please be free to ask.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for a very interesting presentation. I think if our participants or speakers will have some question, then session will be after all presentations. So I want right now. Sorry?
I have a question.
Okay, please.
Hi, my name is Maris Egla. I'm representing Water Riga from Latvia, and we'll be visiting in about a week's time. I just noticed that I had a question for Mohammed Aliyev. Is there any, we are obviously in water testing, primarily drinking water, but also some environmental water testing. I just noticed you have some phosphate and some other water testing, nitrates and solids or pH. I didn't quite catch the whole thing, but do you use any sort of measurement methods, or what is there? Do you have to monitor the port, or I don't know, the discharge water, or is there anything like that you do, or it's not that important? Thank you.
Well, okay. Thank you for your question. I will say that I present you about our biological sewage water treatment plant, and like few months ago, we just got a special, I would say, water measurement instrument in which we can measure the quality of our treated water, where we can take the analysis of the inflow and from the outflow to see the result, because for us it's very necessary to know is our water is treated, because we are going to use it for irrigation purpose. But for now, fortunately, we can measure the quality of water in the sea. With this instrument, no, it's not possible, because the port area is very huge, and if you are going to taste one water in one area of the port and in another, it will show you a different results. In this case, now we are looking forward to install a special devices in the port area, or how we call the sensors, which will take all the chemical which will collect all the chemical analysis from the port area and the real-time data gonna send us the results. It's gonna be the pH, also the biological oxidable demand, BOD, COD, and most especially the carbon emissions in the water. Do we have another?
Yeah, thank you. I don't want to waste everyone's time, but if we can maybe have a brief chat, I don't know, the contacts will be shared here. Can we maybe talk after the seminar briefly, just to see if there's anything we can help? Or I mean, it's not quite our specialty, but there are areas we can maybe alleviate some issues or problems, or we can try.
Okay. I will leave you my mail in the chat if you want.
Okay, thank you very much.
We also will share some contacts of participants with you, necessary. It's not a problem. Thank you very much for your question. There are more questions? Please feel free to ask. If there is not, then we can go to the next presentation of Mr. Hussein Abdullayev from the Ministry of Digital Development and Transport, and he is Director of the Transport Strategy Department of the Azerbaijan Land Transport Agency. Hussein, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Just making sure to share my presentation now.
Okay.
Oh, for some reason I cannot see that one. Okay, let me.
Hussein, are you still with us?
Yes, just making sure to share my presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Here we go.
Great.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
So we have touched upon many topics, including energy, water treatment, seaport, and all that. And also one of the main component of greenhouse gases reduction and also air pollution is mobility in the cities. So this sector contributes to a big share of greenhouse gases, together with air pollution, especially in cities. So I want to share some insights from our urban mobility transformation project, which we currently undertake in Baku. So this slide basically is about where we're now. We have substantial problems in urban mobility, which are related to big share of private transport and then in overall mobility mix, congestion, safety issues, and sustainability. One of which of the factors of which is large CO2 emission per person. And we have made some benchmarking to show where we probably can come if we successfully implement all our initiatives. And for that, we have made some benchmarking again, so to understand where we can come in eventually until 2030, for instance. So what we need to do is decrease the level of congestion, substantially decrease the accident level on our roads, and also decrease annual CO2 emissions per person traveling to work or anywhere else. So, and what is really important to emphasize is that the e-mobility is not a silver bullet for that. So there should be a lot of things done first of all, to decrease the share of personal cars on the roads, for which we need to make some substantial policy adjustments and implement transport policies, which will include also avoiding the reducing number of cars for use for traveling. I mean, it means personal passenger cars. Increase the share of active mobility, including walking and cycling, and also substantial improvement in public transport services in our city. So it's not just, and it's also have to include the policies that that provide shifts from private mobility to private car to public transport and active mobility. So, and this whole project is dedicated to shift from car-centric mobility to citizen-centric, human-centric mobility, which will improve, as again, aim to decrease the number of trips made by private cars in our overall mobility mix. Decrease number, start to regulate effectively the taxi sector, and also improve, substantially improve accessibility of public transport to population, improve the service quality, such as trip time, such as comfort, and other aspects of it. So, and for this, the number of initiatives were made, including, as Anand mentioned previously, was end of last year, we pioneered first ever large-scale project in micromobility. So Baku is actively building pop-up bicycle lanes in the city, which is aimed to, and we aim to reach about 50 kilometers of dedicated bicycle lanes by the end of this year. And also, of course, this thing coincided with the COP29, which we think is a very good opportunity to demonstrate that Baku is doing something in terms of doing some substantial efforts to increase the sustainability of transport sector in our capital city. Together with that, we have a very very important project which we're working right now is the improvement of bus public transport system, which includes changing contracting and financing mechanism of this sector. Second, improve the priority measures for buses throughout the city, which we think is one of the main obstacles that reduce the quality of public transport sectors, bus public transport, by decreasing the reliability of service. So to improve the reliability, we need to also provide bus priority measures in the city. More than that is we are now in the middle of planning of the route network reform. So the route network will be changed substantially, I would say radically, in the coming years, and we'll start doing this piece by piece. I will explain the logic of it in the future slides. So, and also we potentially see how we need to make to reform the fare system, how how fare and tariff systems should be transformed to make people use public transport more than they do now. So we were very much affected by pandemic in 2020, 2021. So we are still not back to the ridership level that we had in 2019, and all these projects are aimed to restore and to stimulate ridership in the public transport sector. So our project has a number of initiatives, about 60 initiatives overall. They are related to public transport, such as bus, metro, rail, reviewing of tariffs, reviewing of measures that demand the traffic management issues, the managing demand for private cars, trips made by private cars, number of infrastructure projects, and also general issues such as creation of multimodal hubs in the cities, improving traffic management schemes, and all that. To facilitate that, we also developed a digital twin that helps us to make strategic decisions in terms of which project we should prioritize and which project we should not prioritize. So this digital twin is basically a multimodal macroscopic daily model that is very much facilitates our decision making, understanding where we should first start and which projects we should go ahead. And especially it's very hard to decide on road projects. Which road projects, for example, will give us more value in terms of the general traffic system of the city, the transport system of the city. And this tool lets us make correct decisions and to understand which of the many projects which of the project we should actually do and go ahead and do, and which ones we should invest, and how much value that will bring us, basically. So this digital twin has accumulated a lot of data sources, such as population, infrastructure. We made an extensive demand survey in the city, and also it includes the data such as we can get from open sources and other stakeholders. Just coming back to network reform that we are extensively working right now. So we have identified the main areas where the traffic demand is generated. So and this was these regions will lead us to sort of put together the new bus route network. And we'll start doing it region by region, and I think by 2026, I think we should finalize all that project. So basically, that's it. What I wanted to say. I think I'm in line with the time restrictions that we have now. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Hussein. for a very interesting presentation. And now it's time finally for Q&A, for question and answers. The participants feel free to ask.
And also, can you stop the sharing screen?
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I will. Stop sharing. Where is it?
It's on the top.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, dear colleagues, if you have a questions to some of our speakers, then
Adava has a question.
okay,
And
please go ahead.
Salam, Səbinə Əhmədova. Məni eşidirsiniz?
Bəli, bəli, buyurun Səbinə xanım.
Mən sonuncu natiqə bir
I am
sualım.
Sabina Ahmedova. I've got a question to the last speaker. You talked about e-buses or e-vehicles. Have you done any calculation on the overall demand for energy? What would be the demand if you move fully to electric cars? For each bus, you know, for 2 buses, we need at least 1 charging station. And in order to charge it within a reasonable time,
160 kilowattlık bir grubuya ihtiyacı var ve bu grubu eğer bir yani stansiyanın 2 çıkışı varsa bunun
charging station has 2
təxmini 2 avtobusa 160 kilovattan 320 kilovattan qədər
about 160 to 320 kilowatt for 2 buses.
Təxmini 100 avtobus üçün
So for 100 buses, energy demand, no difficult, you just multiply. Overall, the plan of the government is, in the coming years, in Baku, vast majority of the buses shall work with electricity. At the moment, we still have buses that are quite old, and gradually some of them will work with CNG, and the other part will work with electric energy. Increase in electric buses will also change the energy infrastructure of the city, and the city shall be ready. And as far as I know, there is a discussion of establishing first charging stations, and so jointly with other issues, meaning generating company, distribution company, or transmission company, we're trying to create network. You know, we are working on grid code. In the grid code, we have to provide at least 5-year long forecast, and we shall align our estimates and our projections, and then we will start first with Baku, and then assessing potential rollout in the regions. We need to understand what would be the expected demand for electric power, So, and then we have to decide where to source energy, from renewables or from other sources. So please be ready that soon we will be knocking on your door to ask for projection. You know, we will be asking for models, we will be asking for your scenarios that you are going to use in order to estimate the forecast.
So, if there is a question or more questions from the participant sides, Dear
May I
colleagues.
ask the question?
Yes,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
I have a question to Mr. Namek Muradov, who represented about the PV panels maintenance. And my question is about, do you have any data about average return on investment for the installation of PV panels in Azerbaijan based on the electricity prices? This is one question. And the second question, do you use any technologies for cooling of PV panels? Because as we know, at some point the electricity is decreasing, production is decreasing when the panels are becoming very hot. And do you use also some methods for utilization of this waste heat, for example, for the preparation of domestic hot water? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, Sandra. I would ask to repeat the first question later. So first I will answer to the second question. In terms of the currently the utilization of the waste, let's call it waste heat from the solar panels, unfortunately there is no way, there's no active ways that is being implemented in Azerbaijan so far, and actually not only in Azerbaijan but also in this region as far as I know. So I don't really able to answer positively, but I think that there are some parts that doing the research and analysis on how to treat this one, because as we know, shadow and temperature are the biggest loss factors for the PV panels. So for the shadow, okay, we have something. For the temperature, unfortunately, nothing for now. At least nothing that has been actively implemented. That is not in the just the analysis or research phase. And could you please repeat the first question?
Yeah, my first question was about the return on investment for the installation of PV panels based on the electricity prices in Azerbaijan. And my little comment about your answer that our company is working on a prototype of how using the capillary heat exchangers for cooling of the PV panels together with Riga Technical University and for the utilization of waste heat. So probably when I will be in Azerbaijan, we can meet and discuss this option if you are interested.
Highly interested. I would be very glad to meet and discuss it further. As for the return on investment, I would not I do not want to say specifically the exact number of years. It's still a little too much. I was doing the analysis for the return on investment for the small scale plant, and it's double digits. Let's call it so. Not high double digits, but it's still double digits. I just don't want to specify for now. I mean, there are still some challenges, and with the implementation of the law and supporting mechanisms, it goes down, but still, it's not like 5 or 6 years or maybe even 4 years. It's not like this, so it's still a little high. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Namik. More questions, dear colleagues? You can also send us our questions via email and we can forward it to the related speaker. Is it also an option? It's an option. And if there is no more question from your side, then
I'm sorry, Leila.
Yes.
There is one raised hand.
Okay, great. Because okay, I can miss some hands because there are so many participants. So please feel free.
Bəli, hər kəsi salamlayıram. Mən Dövlət Dəniz və Liman Agentliyindən
My greetings to everyone. I am from Sea Administration. My question to Mr. Mohammed. When you talk about the port,
Halımız üstürəm. Sualı bir də təkrar.
I beg your pardon, it was inaudible. In your port, do you have any units for accepting wastes? Do you have any Is it about liquid or solid waste? No, we don't have one.
Waste treatment belə deyək də yeri var. Siz istəyirsinizsə mən kontaktı qoymuşam chatda. Mənə yazın mı?
We don't have at the moment, but we have some plans. But I left my email, but I cannot provide you immediate answer. Please email me a question and I'll try to find out the answer. Thank you very much for your question. If you have any further questions, it's the best time to ask them. Anyone else raise the hand? So seems like, to the best of my knowledge, no one raised the hand so far.
Okay. So I think we are also good with our time. We are a bit, yeah, we are still in our time frame. Liga, are you with us? I think it's time to close our very interesting webinar today. So I think the topics were very interesting and very timely, I think, in regards to the preparation to the COP, as I mentioned. And I think every institutions and ministry is really very busy with this high importance topic. And that will be our actually agenda for the next many months, because we host a COP, and this is actually very good and new experience for the country. So I think I just want to express my gratitude to all our speakers, to all our participants for attending this webinar, and also from the AHK Azerbaijan, I thank the LEF Network team, Alena, Liga, for great support and also for trust in us, and looking forward for continuation of our great and successful cooperation. And as I said, if there are some questions after this webinar, please feel free to ask. I will also share my email address in a chat blog, so the participants, you can directly contact us, the AHK Azerbaijan, or send your comments or questions directly to Olena or Liga. So Liga, would you like to share your impressions or your thoughts for today's webinar?
Thank you, Laila. Actually, for today, it was very interesting to watch those presentations, especially that I remember some time ago in Azerbaijan, where I spoke with some stakeholders. What do you think about green energy? They said, oh no, we have fine with that. So nowadays I see that there's so many good positive changes for future and also for today. So I think you are doing as economy a great job, and I think we will really help that for future, for near future, we also will find cooperation opportunities between Central Baltic region and Azerbaijan. So thank you very much. Thank you very much all the presenters and also participants of webinar.
Thank you, and have a nice day, everybody. Liga, see you in March. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Elena.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.